Once in a movie, there was a guy named Insu. He was a young college student with a unique ability. He could see ghosts. These ghosts had a habit of popping up and scaring him. He had a special locket that spun wildly whenever a ghost was nearby. Unfortunately, his classmates were bullies, and they called him the ghost seer. One day, while on the subway, Insu's locket went crazy, indicating the presence of a ghost. He looked around and saw a girl ghost in the crowded subway. It was eerie. Insu decided to make a quick exit and returned home, using his locket to scan the room. At first, it seemed fine, and he felt relieved. But then, the locket started spinning again, and suddenly, there was a ghost sitting on his shoulders. What a surprise. Here's the twist. These ghosts weren't there to harm Insu. They simply needed his help. The ghost he encountered had been murdered, and all she wanted was for her parents to find some peace. Initially, Insu was reluctant to be a ghost helper, but after some persuasion, he called the police and helped solve the case. Still, Insu had enough of dealing with ghosts. He just wanted a normal life and some friends. So, he decided to leave school and return to his hometown. He informed his uncle Haku of his plans, although his uncle tried to convince him otherwise. Back in his hometown, he crossed paths with a lovely girl named Rose. And guess what? Uncle Haku could also see ghosts and was an expert at sending them to the afterlife. The next day, Insu enrolled in his old school, hoping for a fresh start. But unfortunately, bullies, led by Hyunji, made his life difficult. Hyunji even flirted with him, despite having a boyfriend named Haechul. While all this was happening, Insu spotted a ghostly girl wearing a mask outside his classroom, which terrified him. Later, Haechul attacked him and warned him to stay away from Hyunji, the same girl who had flirted with him earlier. Haechul then brought up a girl named Ah-young, who had died under mysterious circumstances some time ago. Insu used to see her ghost too, but he never mustered the courage to help her. That's why he had left the city. Now, here comes the creepy part. One of the girl bullies went home and found a bag on her doorstep. When she opened it, blood splattered all over her face. Terrified, she tried to call her friends, but her phone wouldn't work. Suddenly, the same masked ghost from earlier appeared and ended her life in the blink of an eye. Afterward, we see Insu hanging out with Rose, the same girl from earlier. It turns out she's a ghost who's been deceased for years. Out of nowhere, a strong gust of wind blows, and Rose informs Insu that the masked girl is lurking nearby. This startles our guy, and he dashes away faster than a cheetah with a turbo boost. The following day at school, while Hyunji is bullying some poor guy in front of the entire class, Insu reaches his breaking point and steps in. He's like, "That's enough of the bullying, lady." As expected, the other bullies get ready to fight, but surprisingly, Hyunji calls them off. It turns out she's developed a soft spot for our hero. In the evening, Insu and his uncle are watching the news when they come across a solved murder case after a decade. The murderer was wearing a mask, which immediately piques Insu's interest because he remembers that masked ghost from school. He shares the ghostly details with his uncle, hoping to gather some information. Suddenly, another female spirit living in the house drops the name, Sahi. Meanwhile, a pair of bullies sneak into the school at night on a secret mission. They're after a girl's cell phone that a teacher confiscated earlier. After successfully completing their mission, they decide to hang out in a classroom. The girl goes to the bathroom, leaving the guy alone. While he waits, bam, the masked ghost, Sahi, appears and crashes his party. Then, she makes a surprise visit to the girl in the bathroom stall and puts an end to her as well. The next day, the entire school is shaken by the murders. Hyunji is particularly upset because her friends are dropping like flies. Meanwhile, Insu tries to gather information about Sahi. He questions everyone in the class, but it's as if they're all in a secret club with a "don't talk about Sahi" rule, even though they're all aware of what's going on. It's evident that Sahi's death is somehow connected to the bully gang. Later, while Insu and Rose are having a delightful ghostly time, he receives a message from a classmate. She sends him a picture of Sahi and essentially says, "Don't ever bring up Sahi again." Insu turns to Rose, hoping she knows something. The lovely ghost girl spills the spectral tea and reveals that the entire school knows how Sahi met her end. It finally dawns on Insu that the bully gang had a role in Sahi's demise. He's furious, and with a mischievous grin, he declares, "Sahi is coming for you all." Later, as the bullies head home, Hyunji shows Haechul a picture of Sahi's father and connects the dots to her friends' deaths. She's convinced that the old man is seeking vengeance against the bullies one by one. Haechul agrees with her theory, and together, they decide to pay a visit to Sahi's house and kill her father. Before heading there, Hyunji secretly messages Insu about their plan. In the next scene, Insu receives the message and informs his uncle about the situation. Despite his dislike for the bullies, he realizes their lives are at risk. Consequently, he decides to intervene before it's too late. Hakaru advises him to exercise caution and provides him with a magical dagger for protection. On the contrary, as Haechul and Hyunji enter the house, they are startled by a continuous thumping sound emanating from a box. Simultaneously, they observe some vivid images of the deceased girl, Sahi. It's at this moment that they acknowledge In-soo was speaking the truth. Sahi has indeed returned for revenge. Overwhelmed by fear, the bullies attempt to flee. However, in a bizarre turn of events, Sahi's father mysteriously emerges from the box and brutally dispatches Haechul. Witnessing her boyfriend's horrific demise, Hyunji pleads for her life. She goes so far as to apologize for her past actions. Regrettably, Sahi's father remains unmoved by her words and proceeds to end her life as well. In the aftermath, In-soo finally arrives at the scene. Upon entering the house, he discovers his classmates lying motionless on the floor. He also notices Sahi's father and deduces that he has become possessed by his daughter's vengeful spirit. Just as In-soo is about to leave, he hears a noise coming from a nearby closet. Inside, he finds Sahi donning her customary mask. With unwavering courage, In-soo removes the mask, revealing that she is none other than Rose. Subsequently, we are transported to the past to uncover the true events. Sahi was once a cheerful student at the same school, but like others, she too endured torment from the bully group. One day, having reached her breaking point, she reported Hyunji's bullying behavior to the head teacher. Taking the matter seriously, the teacher publicly reprimanded Hyunji in front of everyone. This incident infuriated the bully girl to the extent that she resolved to make Sahi's existence a living nightmare. Starting the following day, Hyunji and her gang subjected Sahi to cruel treatment, including physical assault, hair pulling, hair burning, and even forcing her to wear a demeaning mark. Despite all the students in the class bearing witness to these horrors, none dared to speak out for fear of suffering the same fate. The relentless torture took a toll on Sahi's life, causing her constant distress at home. Concerned for her well-being, her father suggested contacting the head teacher, but Sahi declined, believing it would only exacerbate the situation. Then, one day, driven to despair by the ongoing abuse, she committed an unthinkable act. In the afterlife, her spirit divided into two personalities: Rose, representing her original kind and helpful nature, and the masked girl, who embarked on a mission to exact revenge upon all her tormentors. In the present day, In-soo stumbles upon a diary where the names of all the victims have been crossed out, except for the head teacher. So, guess what? The masked girl isn't quite finished with her spooky spree. In-soo freaks out and decides to ring up his uncle for some ghostly help. He's like, "Hey, head to Sahi's place and do those ghost burial thingies, quick." Then he heads to the school on a superhero mission to rescue the head teacher. In the next scene, the head teacher is just doing her teacher thing when, surprise, Sahi's ghostly spirit shows up for a ghostly chat. Shortly after, In-soo swoops into the school and starts asking around for the teacher. But no one's got a clue. Suddenly, the lights go all dramatic and guess who shows up? Sahi, now possessing the head teacher's body. She drops the spooky act, reveals her true masked self, and gives them a piece of her ghostly mind, saying they all deserve ghostly punishment for ignoring her bullying woes. In-soo tries to be the hero, but Sahi grabs a lighter and tosses it on some spilled gasoline, making it look like they're all about to become crispy students. But hold the ghostly phone. Rose, Sahi's nicer ghost side, swoops in like a supernatural goalie and catches the lighter before it becomes a flaming disaster. Rose and Sahi have a spooky chat where Rose is like, "Hey, don't hurt the students." But guess what? Sahi, being the ghostly powerhouse, effortlessly swats Rose away, and she vanishes into thin air. Talk about a ghostly knockout. Meanwhile, on the other side of town, Hakaru finally reaches Sahi's haunted house and kicks off his supernatural procedure. But here's the twist: Sahi, fueled by her ghostly strength, goes all wrecking ball and starts smashing everything in her path. Ghostly demolition, anyone? Now, on In-soo's side of the ghostly adventure, he's playing ghost detective. He's checking his mystical ghost-seeing locket on anyone who might be under Rose's ghostly spell. When he spots the locket spinning like a possessed fidget spinner around a girl, he's like, "Hold the phone, ghost alert." He hands her a mysterious notebook he found inside Sahi's spooky container. Time for a blast from the past. We zoom back in time to a flashback, where we find out that In-soo and Sahi were childhood buddies. She even played superhero once and saved him from those pesky bullies. Love might have been in the air because In-soo even drew a picture of her in his trusty notebook. But back in the present, In-soo's like, "Oops, my bad, Rose." He apologizes to Rose's ghostly spirit for not recognizing her earlier. And guess what? This little hiccup is just what the ghost doctor ordered. Hakaru finishes his ghostly task on the other end. When the sad girl's spirit is set free at last, a dagger in Insu's pocket begins to shine brightly. Rose takes out the dagger and quickly stabs herself. Then, we're shown a flashback of the happy memories Insu and Sahi shared. In the final scene, all of the students are shown mourning at Sahi's grave. Insu is there too, holding a lovely drawing of his dear Rose.
Thank you for watching, and please subscribe Mango Recap for more video like this and help the channel grow.